I can't tell this real life. I can't tell this for life. I ain't sleep, I've been up all night. Yeah, boy, they losing to us, yeah. Yeah, I will go with you.
What's up, guys? Everyone is doing well. In today's video, I'm going to be going over some updates for Bitcoin, also Ethereum and Cardano. I'm just going to touch on, then after that, a small handful of altcoins towards the end of the video. But let's go ahead and get it started here for this update for Bitcoin. Here in this hourly chart, which I started looking at since this goes all the way back to November 9th after we got rejected from around 21,000. Mainly what I want to get across here is this kind of descending over time, this range of these black trend lines I have, which are with respect to this yellow symmetrical triangle pattern we got right here, which we broke down from and then made this first low right here at around 15.7, and then made the double bottom portion of that right here at around 15.4 at the lowest when it wicked down to that point. So far we've really just need to see Bitcoin break above this dark blue moving average, the 800 estimating average, moving average on this hour time frame. We did see this break above it right here, but got rejected at around 18,000. Again, coming back up to meet this area where we did form this symmetrical triangle right here. So far, things aren't necessarily looking the best for Bitcoin right now. Going into our current time right here, if we start to lose around 16.3 and then especially 16,000, we could likely see a pretty quick drop down to, again, this descending black range at around 16 to at lowest around 15.4, retesting the previous low we've already set. And if that ends up happening, we start to significantly close below that, which should be around 15.2 or so. Again, as I've been saying, we will likely come down to meet this range down here at around 13.4 to 11.3. Worst case scenario, we could actually see some wicks down to around 10,000 or so. If we take a look here at this 2-hour chart, again, we can see we got rejected back here at around 21,000. As I was mentioning with respect to this pattern, so these pink lines, these curved trend lines that I'm using, each time you can see we got rejected back here, 69,000, 48,000, 21,000. Minor rejection right here at around 18.2. And right now it kind of looks like we are going to get rejected. Again, this time more around 16.5 or so. Again, if we start losing around 16.3, and then here on this 2-hour chart, closing below around 15.8, 16,000, which is in line with this negative golden ratio, this phi DMA on this indicator right here, which also correlates with the corresponds with this lowest range of this VPR, which also lines up with these 4 areas back here where we saw support, also lining up with this ascending turquoise trend line range that I have on here. We have been seeing a bullish divergence on the RSI down here with respect to price having a negative slope, RSI having a positive slope. So, I mean, hopefully we will bounce just within this general range, not significantly losing 16,000 right now is, I think, the kind of key approximate value to be looking out for. And then again, we just need to see price break above this 800 EMA here on these lower time frames at around 17.5 to 18,000, and then see Bitcoin move above 18.7 or so, corresponding to this massive white band here on this 2-hour chart, which is what we got rejected from again back here at around 21.4 or so. But again, going back to this 2-day chart, so once more, if we do get rejected, it could take us down to, as I've been saying for quite some time, around just approximately 12,000 to 10,000, somewhere within that general range. If we do get rejected once more from here, which if we go to this 2-week chart, again, as I've went over in my previous video, this if you take each halving, which is what these purple dotted lines are, go out 72 bars from each, it correlates so far each time for every halving, lining up pretty much with when the bull run is starting to begin, as you can see on here, for each of these 3 times in these 3 ranges right here. And what this ultimately leads to is saying that the bull run should begin approximately around February 13th, and then with the top probably occurring sometime around the next halving, if I had to guess, given that the current phase that we're in. I believe we'll see a similar move like we did back here. More technically, it would be from around the March crash to March of 2021. We'll see a price movement similar to that, a very rapid bull run which why I was going back to this price movement back here from around 2012 to 2013 because this is what we're seeing again. It's this lightning bolt, this ABCD pattern, but because we're in a different phase, the time in terms of how long the cycles and the phases are lasting is getting longer. The price gains are also not as explosive as they were in the past, which just factors in overall with Bitcoin's logarithmic regression over time and just how it decays in form of the cycles lengthening and things associated with that. Again, so if we zoom in here on this higher time frame chart, which actually before I get to that, another time ratio that I have on here, which I just put on here. So if we take from pretty much the bottom right here, like February 4th, 2019, got to this intermediate high, it was 10 bars. If we do the same thing, which I'm kind of in a fractal way connecting this, so we see this first impulse and we see the second impulse right here from the March crash to March of 2021, those 26 bars, so we have a 2.6, that would be the ratio there, so 10 divided by, or 26 divided by 10. Then we have right here for 20, so for the downside after this impulse, which would be correlated to the downside after the impulse from 69,000. So if we do 20 times 2.6, it gives us 52, which also nicely lines up with, again, what the halving is saying. Sometime, just approximately around February 13th, could start to begin to bottom out around that time and then start to slowly push up leading into March, which is when this 52 bars right here ends around March, end of March or so. Which again, price range that I have for this is that just in general, I think it will top out somewhere around 200 to 300,000, approximately 242,000 or so, give or take like $30,000, sometime towards the end of next year, 2023, or if our bottom continues to, if we haven't actually bottomed yet and we continue to go down a little bit more, just down to around 12 to 10,000 or so approximately, then I believe that would probably push the top more into like the first 3 to 4 months of 2024. But if we do actually end up breaking up from here instead of getting rejected again around like 16.5 or so, I believe is what I said earlier, then I believe that the top would more likely happen more towards the end of next year rather than 3 to 4 months into 2024. And again, as I've gone over this chart, it's pretty much pointing out the same idea. You can see with these halving ranges, these time measurements right here. But again, we are still seeing a bullish divergence, very similar on this RSI, on this 2-weekly chart, as we have in each bottom in the past. So again, that's still nice to see. Doesn't mean we aren't going to go up from here. As I've been pointing out, we could obviously still continue to go lower as the RSI continues to move up and then eventually break out. But I mean, according to this, as I've already said, this halving measurements right here, these ratios basically, I mean, we're pretty much ending out the bull run or the bear market at this point. Again, we still have time left to go down if that is going to end up happening. But if we actually take a I'll actually see it on here, I forget where it actually is, but I mean, so from about where we are right now down to around, let's just say 10,000, around 37-38% more, potentially to the downside. But from where we are now to the potential highest upside, about just roughly, I mean, your risk to reward ratio is about 37-38% to around 1,700%, 1,600%. So I mean, even if you are buying in right now, perhaps it does go down a little bit more, and you do see fall obviously in your investment. But for the most part, that you're making a very safe bet, given that the bear market is pretty much over, at least according to this analysis and this way of looking at the price of Bitcoin over time. Then last thing I wanted to go over, just to kind of on a higher time frame, because the higher the time frame is, the more just kind of viable, I suppose, the analysis on it is, the more structural integrity there is to the chart. So if we take a look at this 12-month chart, we can see each time we've printed, and all 3 of these candles are actually pink. You have to zoom in really far here on the second one, but you can see this one also printed a pink vector candle as well. Just kind of, again, let you know that the bottom is at least somewhere it's been set in, or there's still at least a little bit of time for it to set the final low. But also another very interesting thing about this is, so these are the Heikin-Ashi candles. Whenever you see, as a rule with Heikin-Ashi candles, the bodies start to thin out a lot, with you seeing some massive wicks either to the downside or the upside or both, like we saw back here for this one right here, and also the one we're currently on, and also this one back here, but it didn't quite meet that requirement because the body was rather wide or large compared to the ones over here. But the point is whenever you see the Heiken Ashi candle start to thin out like this, going towards lows, that's starting to indicate some sort of reversal. Whether or not it's going to be the reversal into the momentum, the build up towards the actual bull run, or it will very parabolically and explosively break towards the upside. But that's pretty much all that I wanted to touch on for Bitcoin. If we do, another cool thing about this is as well, if you look at these trend lines, which my point that I'm trying to get across with these is, so this lower range right here, these two purple ones, is kind of just to encompass the range right here, the sloped range for these three candles right here, for this bottom of 2015 leading into the high of 2018. And then this upper range is with respect to kind of the top out of this, in terms of the candle close back here in 2011, all the way up to the current highs we've set with these two candles in our most recent bull run. Just nicely lines up with the range that I would be expecting, up towards around 200 to 300,000 or so. But it also does say, according to, so if we go back into 2023, let's say that this time around we're not going to see just one of these small bodied candles, and let's say this time it's going to change, just like a lot of things have changed in this cycle so far. Let's say 2023 is also going to be a red year as well. I mean, that could put us down to as low as, I mean, as I said, 10,000, but I mean, technically we could see some wicks down to as low as around 18, or not 18, but 8.5 thousand. I mean, still just approximately 12 to 10,000. Worst case scenario, seeing wicks down around 9 to 8,000. I personally don't think that is most likely, although, I mean, it just as likely could happen, but that's just not personally what I think is going to happen. But here for Ethereum, here on this 2-day chart, as it's been being said for the most part for quite some time, but the next lowest, worst case scenario, we could see Ethereum goes around $300. In between area would be around 500 right here, and then around, just retesting the previous low, around 800 or so, 800, 900 right here. Right now for Ethereum on this 2-day chart, it's important to see it not start to close or trickle below around $1,100 at this point. If it starts to lose that, and then especially go below 1,000, and then around $987, then that's likely going to signify setting newer lows, in my opinion, which would also line up with Bitcoin likely going lower as well towards that 14 to 12, or 14 to 10,000, just the lows, just slightly below 15.4 down to around 10,000 or so. But for Bitcoin, Bitcoin it was around 16.5 thousand. It needs to break. Ethereum needs to start moving back above around 1,200 to 1,300 at this point to see some nice bullish sentiment on here for this chart. Again, my price targets for this are just around 28 to around 42,000 or so, just anywhere in that range. Again, similar time frame to Bitcoin, end of next year for the lower price targets, and then for the higher ones, given things would likely extend more towards 3 or 4 months into 2024. In general, I personally think next year will be a very good year for the cryptocurrency space. Whether or not we continue to bottom out a little bit into the beginning of 2023, I believe for the most part, the majority of 2023 will sit more in the green than in the red. Here for Cardano, we're going to see pretty much a similar picture painted. This one's pretty much been going down a lot more heavily than, obviously, Ethereum. But if we, here for Cardano, start to lose around 23 cents. So around 23 to 20 cents, Bitcoin or Cardano starts heading into that range and then starts significantly lose it. I mean, we could see it go down to, I mean, worst case scenario, kind of lining up with this overall lowest range we've set so far, these lower two red trend lines, these dotted ones right here. I mean, it could go down to around, around 12 cents down to around 6 to 7 cents, but continue to bottom out, like I said, more into like the first 2 months of next year, if there's the actual low for the market hasn't been set in yet. But when it comes to Cardano, a more short-term resistance to break is going to be about 24, 25 cents. And then after that, about 30 to 32 cents. And then obviously for all of these coins, at least for Ethereum and Cardano and Bitcoin. This 800 estimated moving average is a good one, a very important one to break on just about all the time frames, which for Cardano lines up at around 48 to 50 cents just in general within this consolidation we set back here from around May to September, August of this year. Same price targets, a similar idea for Ethereum, 20 to around 55, possibly could extend around $70 or so, but in general around $20 to $55. Again, similar time frame, end of next year for these first two, and then more into 3 or 4 months into 2024, so for the higher price target. Here for XRP, this coin to me at least doesn't seem like it's keeping up as much bullish sentiment or momentum over time as a lot of these other coins are. Last bull run, this coin only did around 1,700%. That's very low in consideration with a lot of other coins. If it does that again, according to the way I see the market structure behaving, according to Bitcoin's overall macro, just fractal structure that I've seen within it, which I'll have videos at the beginning of this video's cards that more elaborately dive into that if you're interested in that and seeing that. But price target for XRP is around $5.50 or so, $5.38 or so. Again, similar time frame, end of next year, 3 to 4 months into 2024. If things extend, if the bottom hasn't been set in and yet, things like that. If XRP continues to go lower, we're looking at like 25 to 14, 15 cents. If it loses that, it won't be good at all, because then that'll go down to, I mean, around, I would say four to around just a little bit below a penny at around 0.008, which would be another terrible drop to see. I mean, if it does go that low, I mean, that's another 100% drop. I mean, XRP is having some dealings with the SEC. I know a lot of people think it's going to be a very massive coin within the whole just blockchain cryptocurrency space, but I mean, at the end of the day, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe this thing just doesn't end up falling through in a good way and it falls off the table. But if we do continue to go up from here and doesn't continue to go lower, breaking around 60 cents and continue to move higher up to that, I believe it'll probably consolidate within this range back here, this black box that I have, before it finally makes the break above the previous highs we've set towards around $5.38. But if we look here at this coin, CSPR, Casper, this one doesn't have too much price data. I don't really know where it would go long term. But so far, it is pretty much just been going down. This goes all the way back to June of 2021. We're kind of just straddling along this mid line right here. It's important if the market continues to go up from here, and assuming this coin goes up along with Bitcoin, breaking around 4 to 5 cents into this black box up here. Likely, if I had to guess, would probably see some sort of consolidation within this range, and then eventually breaking above like around around 1 cent, all the way up to around 16 cents, and eventually breaking through that is going to be the best thing to see, depending upon how, I mean, this trades. I mean, this is really, it's not really too much to go off on here, other than just general channel that it's in. If it continues to go even lower and kind of meet this like lowest pressure zone that it's hit over time, I mean, that's around 1 cent, 1.013. Again, kind of just trickling lower towards 1 cent, going slightly below around 0.09, down to around 0.008. Again, just if we continue to go lower, that is also going to lower the range within, again, with respect to this channel that we need to see price break out of. Here for XPR, similar situation to coin I just went over, not too much price data, kind of just in this overall channel towards the downside. This one's more so broadening. If we come down, market continues to go lower, this coin just continues to go lower for whatever reason. It could come down to meet this mid-range more, pretty much right at around approximately 1/10 of a penny. If we break through that, we could again come down to meet the lowest range we've set. As you can see, we touched it twice back here, pretty much 3 times actually. If we come down to meet that, I mean, that is about, I don't even know, maybe I'm not even going to try to guess the fraction, but definitely way below a penny, 0.0003, with the mid-range being around 0.0004. If we take a look at the indicators down here, which I didn't touch on them for these or really Cardano. I mean, most of them all are looking the same for the most part. We aren't getting a bullish divergence here for Cardano, really anything on the RSI. But mainly for these altcoins. I mean, if we take a look here, nothing special right here either with respect to that. The stock RSI, hopefully we'd see it move up towards this upper range to continue bullish momentum here for XRP. This MACD has also seen a flip recently as well, which could be a good thing, assuming we don't get rejected. Again, there's not really too much to go off here for these two coins right here. Although, again, since we are starting to see lift off here, given that Bitcoin seems to be reaching the end of its bear market, this is a good thing to be seeing on these indicators. Hopefully we'll continue to see this RSI and the stock RSI continue the momentum and the sentiment towards the upside, which will follow through with price having a bullish momentum towards the upside, which would follow through. This MACD has been trading sideways, eventually having a very momentous thrust towards the upside as well. But to go back here for XPR, no bullish divergence really. Here, RSI continues to keep going lower. The stock RSI, same thing here, is finally touching out the bottom right here for the first time. So I'm also making a nice M, which could be a good thing. This MACD has behaved quite nicely. As you can see, we made this double bottom back here. Basically, I mean, there pretty much was a deviation, at least, with the price obviously having a negative slope. This MACD had a positive slope, or at least borderline positive compared to price. So far, this MACD has continued to move upwards, as the main sentiment for price has been to the downside. I mean, just in general, that's just conveying that eventually at some point it will break towards the upside. And the fact that Bitcoin, as I pointed out right here on this chart, is as close, it seems, to its bottom and eventually reversing towards the upside is just a very good strength for what I'm going over for these altcoins as well. Here for XLM or Stellar, if we continue to go lower, price targets around 5 cents, 4 cents, 3 cents or so. If we go any lower than that, I mean, who knows from that point. But it's nice, it'll be nice for XLM to recover back above pretty much 10 cents or so, around 9 to 10 cents. Continue to move up in this first black box. If I had to guess, it'll probably stagnate, as you have kind of just with this fractal pattern that I have on here, just within this general range, perhaps bumping its head on this upper black box, coming down to find support in this lower black box until it finally moves back up. Again, that would be correlated with around 23 to 42 cents for the upper range we would need to see this coin break out of before it goes to this general price target range I have around $1.50 to $2.18. Again, this is the same time frame, either sometime end of next year or like 3-4 months into 2024. This one's around a 3,000% move, which is again on the lower side for most of the coins. I mean, in general, around like 1,000 to like roughly 8,000 is on the lower side, then like 10 to like 30,000 is slightly higher, than like from 30 to like 80s reaching the high range, and then anything above like 80,000 is, like, I would just say extremely high, just up to the highest that I've seen, which is Phantom, as I've mentioned in the past, with around 200,000% during the last bull run. But for the last coin, for XYO, similar idea here. We can see when they have this inside pitchfork here on this is the USD chart. We could see it return back to this general basis, this lowest price pressure kind of range we've set over time within this dark blue pink zone, which would put it at around 1/10 of a penny or so, going down almost to it exactly around 1/10 of a penny. If it continues to stagger into like first 3 or 4 months of next year, if the bottom continues to extend to that point, as I've been saying. Again, this is kind of like the other coins that I went over, at least XPR and Casper. There's not too much price data for the USD charts on TradingView here. We are getting, I mean, a borderline exaggerated bullish divergence right here for this price. It's had a negative slope where the RSI has kind of been slowly moving up. We've had this RSI dropped, I mean, lower than we would have liked to have seen with this recent drop that we've seen. But for the most part, I mean, the price is more drastically moving towards the downside than the RSI is. And again, just going back to Bitcoin and how Bitcoin seems to be wrapping up its bear market, that is in general just an overall good thing for these altcoins as well. The stock RSI is also reached the lowest it could have gone. It could stagger in this range, for all we know, and price will continue to bleed lower, as I've said. It could go down to these ranges that I've set down here. But eventually all this pressure that is being built up will be released. If we take a look at this XYO to Bitcoin chart, you can see that we are meeting a very nice support box right here. We could, as I said, continue to trickle even lower, which if we do continue to trickle lower down to this pretty much lowest in terms of the price structure area, would exactly correlate with where the bottom was set at previously, according to this kind of ascending, this diagonal resistance range, resistance size support range that I have with these yellow dotted lines. Also kind of with this kind of like fan, but I have these yellow, or not these yellow, but these red trend lines stemming from these this high, double top high range we set down here. Again, the price targets for XYO, I think in general from around $2 to $3 is what it will most likely set. I'm thinking it's going to be around a 320x or so, around 32,000%, which is, out of all the ones I went over in this video so far, the best one in terms of the altcoins. I mean, I guess would be the best one in terms of all of them. But as I said, for coins like CSPR, Casper, and then XPR, Proton, I mean, for all we know, these coins could, I mean, this coin right here could actually be the next best mover in the upcoming bull market for all we know. I mean, we don't really, none of us know what's going to happen at the end of the day, but that was about all that I wanted to really touch on in this video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, hopefully you were able to learn and take something away from this video. But I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a blessed day.
Don't nobody wanna die alone, but that's the road that we all on. I can never ever sell my soul, 'cause I know I'ma live long. I know I'ma get